Hey guys, it's Wayne, and I'm back stealing time from the Traveling Vegan. But he's here watching over me. So with me is Phil, and he's normally the host of the Traveling Vegan. But we're gonna, and as we've been talking, people have been asking about you, and that's why I'm here. So now you're not talking about you, I'm asking you about you. So we started.
I've never found that very difficult, so please continue.
We started in our first conversation, in our first meeting, talking about a pet project that you did, which was a book.
Right, well, the book actually was written, my memoir, from 1 year traveling around the world, 12 cities, 12 months, 10 countries, 4 continents, with 48 other people that I didn't know who were strangers on day one, who, them like me, traveled around the world as a team, and each of us had our own businesses or worked for a company, and we ran our businesses or worked for these companies with our smartphones and our laptops.
Shameless plug of the name of the book. Duh.
Have Laptop Will Travel, which I'm so pleased to say sold over 6,000 copies, was #1 in 7 countries, #1 in the business travel category, and I've done book signings and actually a PowerPoint presentation all around the country when we were still having gatherings of that sort, and even in total of 3 countries. And I think that the reason that is that, you know, travel is the #1 thing you buy that you spend money on that actually makes you richer, and the #1 thing people love and they have a yearning for is to be able to travel, have the freedom to travel. And I'm very pleased to tell you that very soon we're coming out with our anniversary edition of Have Laptop Will Travel.
Very cool. I'll tell you what's cool about Have Laptop Will Travel. Take this, I mean it, not as I say it. It's a book. There's 8 gazillion books out there. But you have managed to take your book and interject things like fill facts and little things like that make the book much more interesting for anybody to read instead of just reading a book. Okay? Some of them are really cool. But how'd you come up with like some of these things?
Well, most of my ideas in life I got actually in the yoga studio, just practicing a posture. Not very well, by the way. I mean, I'm terrible at the postures, but you know, you fall out of a posture, you get right back in, and if you can just empty your mind and get into essentially yoga can be a moving meditation, and all of a sudden things will just pop into your mind. But speaking of the fill facts, you know, what you're saying is there's little boxes that are segues outside of the story.
Right.
Fill facts, PHACTS, right? And fill food, fill feelings, no filter. And in the anniversary edition, we have some new fill facts, some new fill feelings, some new no filters.
A lot of content.
We changed some of the content, upgraded some of the content. I'm even going to have a key, like a table of contents for the changes that were made. And also we put a lot more pictures. I think about 30 pages of new pictures that more follow some of the big events of the story, like the plane crash that I witnessed, like the overdose that it's pretty well understood that the things that happened and the things I did saved my brother Victor's life, my traveling brother Victor's life from a drug overdose. And so I have pictures of him passed out on the tuk-tuk in Thailand.
Wow.
You know. And anyway, so we're real excited about the anniversary edition. There's talk, my business broker says he's going to get it into Barnes & Noble's, that he's going to get it on the USA Today recommended list, the Wall Street Journal recommended list. And so I think the future is really bright for this book because it is such a contrast between what you were able to do just a few years ago, which is traverse around the earth like a globetrotter, we call it, globetrotting around the earth, going from place to place and still being connected to the internet so that you can actually live up to your responsibilities in work. And so if all that goes well, then what I'm going to do is come out with my next book, which is going to be called Have Laptop Can't Travel. It's going to be a collection of essays about our civil liberties and how they're being stolen because of this worldwide pandemic and the reactions that the governments are having. And so that will be, I think, and it actually builds on the brand, I think.
Right.
But
It's the other side.
It's the other side. That's really good.
You know, and in my mind, I don't know how much theater you do, but we've all. I think everybody out there has seen The Wizard of Oz. Seen The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
Did you see Wicked?
No.
Okay, so Wicked is the other side of The Wizard of Oz. If you go see Wicked, you will look at the Good Witch and totally different.
Huh.
Okay? Your new book is the other side of a book that you've written. Now, my question to you is, if you had the opportunity to go and do this 12-month again, would you?
Absolutely. I think about it all the time.
Do you?
The problem is we can't. You cannot. They're
can't
very,
go to another county. Okay.
We're very, very. The world is very, very restricted right now, which, is probably part of the plan. When you look at all the totalitarian regimes, just of the last 100 years, usually through the model of communism, you'll see. I learned this at the Museum of Communism in Prague, Czech Republic. The Czechoslovakians were not allowed to travel outside of Czechoslovakia. And they never left. They would vacation in Czechoslovakia, and they would never leave. You'd have to be an elite, have a really good reason to leave. So this is just basically a 2.0, a new version of totalitarian to keep people from moving. Same in China. You can't leave your little province in China without having a really good reason. So
really?
That's absolutely right. So here we are. And so we're going to talk about in some upcoming episodes about, they call it the Great Reset and the new normal. Well, we are advocating for a greater reset. And the greater reset's going to involve more freedom, more choices, more flexibility, more possibilities, more potential for each and every human being. And that's really, what more could you possibly yearn for in this world?
You can't get into D.C.
That's right.
now.
Yeah.
My daughter lives in D.C. and she's
locked down.
She's down. She's here. She can go back, but she's. You know what? I can tell you her exact words. Wayne, or Dad, it's just theatrics. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. Nothing's going to happen because there's nobody here. It's empty. Can't and
all of a sudden walls work really well.
Right. Well, D.C. is very interesting
for you people.
Okay, and D.C. is very interesting because D.C. people don't really care anything about politics.
It's true.
They have no electoral votes. They could care less about politics. But I don't want to. I want to go back to your traveling. Okay, so now you decide that you can do this travel. Okay, when you started it, did you just say, "Hey, this is going to be really cool. When I'm done, I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to keep memoirs"? Or was it a plan?
I was actually resistant to it. My mom was the one who kept bothering me about it, and so in the back of my head, I had it in the back of my head. I kept a digital diary. And I kept a private Facebook page. I took screenshots of photos I thought were cool of my travels, and posted them to myself on my private Facebook page. So when I halfway into it, 6 months into it, I decided to write this book, which I'm so glad. God bless our parents, right?
Yep.
They're sometimes they're always well-meaning, and sometimes they're well-meaning. They say be a lawyer, and then you hate practicing law, right? That happens a lot. But God bless my mom. She is the one that encouraged me to write the book. And then 6 months, I'm like, I'm going to write this book. But I had everything from my first thought of when I stepped off the airplane in Split, Croatia, right up to at that time, I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for 5 weeks with the remote year team, 48 of us at the time. I started writing the book, and it was like vegan. It's one of the best decisions, and one of the best decisions I ever made was to write this book. I'm very happy I wrote the book.
When you were on this 12-month journey, did you have, for lack of a better word, free time where you weren't watched over, where you can go and do whatever you wanted to do?
That was actually the problem. It was like, freshman year college with a fake ID. Okay, like it was too much freedom. It was just when I was a little older than some of the others. The average person was a millennial. The average traveler was a millennial, and they're night owls, and they would get up in the afternoon if they wanted to, and work and do their thing. And it was actually this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out.
Right.
And so there was this idea the first 6 months, like I got to do everything, every field trip, every activity, because they had all kinds of activities and the local people that you met and all of that. And by month 7, there was a thing that I started to get into. Instead of FOMO, it was LOMO, which was the love of missing out. And so you learn to kind of pace yourself and not do everything. But to make the long story short, there was a lot of freedom, and it was almost hard to manage.
And I can, I can kind of understand it. Was there, for lack of a, so you go on this thing, was there any fear that, hey, I'm not in familiar territory and stuff?
I always felt really comfortable. I always felt like, you know what, I'm an American, I have an American passport. I didn't always have street smart, but by the second half of the year, by the time I got in Argentina, I felt street smart. I walked the streets. I estimated I walked about 5 miles a day wherever I was, from the apartment to the workspace, back, and to yoga, to a club or a restaurant, to meet up with others. And I just did a lot of walking, and I always felt comfortable. Although in South America, I was mindful about the possibility of kidnapping, so I did keep a lower profile.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I know I've been away, and I remember being younger and being in areas and getting on a scooter and going to where the locals live, and people saying, "Don't go in there." Don't. But you did it anyway because we were kids and we wanted to have that adventure. But I'm going to connect this one, okay, to your book. So if you're going to click up in the right-hand top corner, you'll be able to click there, and it'll take you right to the book interview. So you'll learn more about the book. With that, everybody, will be right back.
Thank you.